Where'd we go?
It'll-
There we are.
And then
There we are. I'm
it'll
gonna just
pop
enlarge
up
it.
with it and then just close it once it pops up.
Open up. There we go. Okay, I will be calling the meeting to order at 6:31. We will please rise for the pledge, and we're improvising tonight because they have taken our large flag downstairs to the gym, so we have a small flag on the wall right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. That is item number one. Item number two is public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make any public comment? And I don't see anyone on our recording. So we will move on to discussion and possible action on the recommendation of the updated revised codes to the annual town meeting for approval. That was a mouthful. Angela, you're welcome to sit up at the table for this. I thought Will was coming as well. I'm not sure where he is.
Just unlocked it.
Okay, so he will be here any second. So we're moving along at a nice pace. I could keep it that way. So what we have in the packet are the items that have been on the town website for review and which we are proposing to bring to the town meeting for approval because they need the town meeting to be approved. So, and what you see in this packet will be exactly what will be copied and available to people at the meeting that night so that they can follow along on the call when we get to those items. Will and Angela are here to kind of highlight any items or answer any questions. These are ones that are pretty straightforward, just for clarification. There's nothing too in-depth in these. We know there are other codes that need a little more deep diving into, but these are some just basic updating continuity changes with these codes. So
I thought the cover sheet, the summary sheet was helpful.
that was Will. He good at that stuff, so he gave us a little kind of synopsis.
Yeah, so that'll
what's
tell people as
included.
well. Now, if I show up at the town meeting
Mhm.
and I haven't gone to the website, will there be copies?
I just said, what's in this packet will be located and available at the meeting.
And so they may want to just take it up, and I know like Hamden's council would do what they called
All in one swoop to do them in one.
yeah, consent calendar.
Right.
Like the committee, it would go on the consent calendar and they would just unanimous approval. If any member said, so if anybody in the audience, or I want to talk about alarms,
Mhm.
then, okay, well, that'll be individually debated, but it's just,
I mean,
That'll
that
be
might
up to the
certainly can
people.
come up that people, if they've looked at them and they feel that they're pretty basic updates and want to do it in that form. A motion can be made and voted on. It is the town's vote, so.
I noticed, the number 82 and 184 are not here. Is that because we're still working on
Or
those?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, like I said, we brought, because the call is so lengthy for a town meeting as it is, we wanted to bring some of the
Easy stuff.
simpler, easier ones that were pretty straightforward for updates. Because I think some of the other ones will require
Yeah.
more work and may require their own town meeting so that there can be a deeper dive into the conversation.
Right. I remember some of the ones that we were looking at, just common sense stuff,
Right.
just updating.
Yeah. And making them kind of uniform with some of the other codes where, depending on how people were appointed for certain commissions and boards, just sort of making it consistent with the different codes, so.
Mhm.
the only one
And
that's,
these have been up on the town website since they were approved by the group. The review committee, and we did advertise it in the bulletin back in, I believe it was April, that they were up there for review. And since the packet's already up on the website as well, people can still go in and check the packet. So, yeah.
did you guys get any feedback after they were put on the website?
Not really. There was one on the Conservation Commission, a member that It was before it was posted on what they had heard about it, so we just want to know how,
Other than
what it
that,
was.
nothing.
No,
But nothing, yeah, nothing, controversial or anything, really. That was the only one, so.
Paul, can I jump in for
Sure,
one thing?
absolutely.
Just, the one that's, I think. That's kind of new to you guys is the 63-4. Because that's one that was discussed at the committee, a couple of meetings, but it wasn't finalized till the last meeting.
Right.
And that has to do with, there were kind of two things on it. It had kind of an odd attendance provision, which none of the other boards and commissions had. Vin looked into it and he was kind of skeptical that we could even do that. Essentially, if someone missed three consecutive meetings, the commission may vote to kick them off. An elected board, and he said that probably really wouldn't work. Plus it's weird, it's the only board that has that.
So we cleaned it up, basically.
And the other one is the vacancy part, because that came up, again, it's this one provision that's unlike any other board, where it provides a vacancy till the end of term, not till the next election. All the other ones are till the next election. So that's why that was a thought, but we wanted to get it done now before the November 2025 election, because then the problem would continue. You can't kick somebody off. If you can't change the rules in the middle of the game with an elected official.
So that's why we wanted to bring it now, so that it's clarified prior to the November.
It will be in effect for anyone elected in
Right.
November.
Correct.
So they're all existing except chapter 46, is that a new section?
46 is new, and it's essentially just a mirror image of 95. Just because there was no mention of the wetlands enforcement officer in the code.
Yeah, so that probably should just be called out. Because the rest of them have underlines or strike throughs, so somebody would look at this and say, oh, they're not making any changes. Like just the whole section is.
It's new, yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
You have any, Gina?
I don't know.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve these items to be moved forward to the call for the town meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, thank you. And look at the comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is, some additional items, to be brought to the town meeting. Item number 4. These are basically the LoSiP and capital, expenditures. I know that Karen and Leslie, have gone through these with a fine tooth comb. And these, just need to be brought forward, for approval by the town. At the town meeting. It should be a back-to-back on, yeah, I think I have it
Here?
right there. Nope, one more.
Here,
I think that's it right there.
okay. Oh, I see.
See,
Yeah,
it's- yeah, it's up on the top where it says item 4 there.
okay.
Yeah, so that's it. So if you have any questions, Sharon and Leslie are here to certainly address those. And we tried to, I should say they, because they worked very hard on this, group them together as far as any specific projects and LoSiP and so forth. Any questions or comment? May I have a motion to approve these items to go forward on the call to the town meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, having heard no other comments or questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, wonderful. Now we have 3 sets of minutes to be approved. We have the March 25th special meeting, April 2nd special meeting, and April 30th special meeting. So let's do them first. March 25th. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
This is the March 25th.
March 25th.
Okay, let me just take a look at my,
Sure.
my notes. March 25th. Oh, I just had one question about, I had a question about,
Where are you looking?
the first paragraph under number 2.
Okay,
Um. I thought that this is a little misleading, but I mean. In the middle of the paragraph, it was noted that current law does not require such programs to be licensed or regulated. I agree. Then it says, if voters choose yes, they support a town-run program. If they, well, no, vote indicates opposition to it. And I just think it's not really accurate, because I think some people voting no support a town-run program that's licensed. So I just think it doesn't really capture. I'm trying to think of a different wording, but, if voters choose yes,
No matter what you say, you don't know why a person's voting yes or no.
right, but this is misleading. as
What
a-
I'm
as a
saying,
description.
right, it's
Right,
stricken in its entirety.
maybe that would help.
the
Right.
sentence
That
or
might help, the last
the last
sentence,
sentence?
yeah.
Right,
Okay.
because they voted no doesn't mean that they want to be licensed, they may not want it at all.
They might not want, or they might want it to be licensed,
So do
Or-
you,
you know,
Right.
so it could be that, either one, we don't know.
okay, do you want to make a motion to strike out that last sentence?
I think so, yeah.
Bob, do you-
No objection.
No objection, so he seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay,
Thank
you're
you.
making that amendment to it. Any other amendments to it?
That's all I have for the
Okay,
25th.
so a motion to approve these minutes as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay. March 25th is taken care of. Now we have April 2nd, special meeting. May I have a motion to approve? Or we can at least discuss at the moment.
So moved.
Can I get a
Is
second?
this for discussion?
We'll do it discussion.
Okay, second.
Second, okay. Discussion. Any comments, questions, or corrections on these minutes?
Had, under number 15, on page 5,
Hold on. Okay,
the third line down, it said some council members. So it should probably just be changed to board members.
That was on my list too.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Council
third,
is-
third line, the first word should be changed to board.
Yeah, it looked like somebody ran it through AI.
Okay.
I don't know whether that's
Okay.
true or not.
Any other corrections?
Um. Yes,
Okay.
if you look at item 3,
Okay,
when we were discussing the Veterans Park Memorial,
mhm,
I thought, and I could be wrong, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention, that the requirements were being a town resident and, honorable discharge.
Yeah,
and that's it. And that here, the minutes show some
About a
service
campaign
medal or
service medal.
ribbon. I did not remember that as a
Will,
requirement.
is that a requirement?
That's
Yeah,
that's the
third.
current one,
Oh,
yeah.
that's the current.
And I think some of the members were, what they were saying was that had been their rule, because they were the VFW, so.
Mhm, so they,
But I think the two members who were here did say that they, in a few cases, they've strayed from that and they've let people be put on the wall who, served stateside. And they kind of
Mhm.
said, so, but the current rule is you have to serve during those war times and,
Right, but I thought that they told us that people that serve in wartime who are in those
Yeah.
positions also should get recognized, that it would, like, I mean, I could read
yeah.
what my,
So it may well be that, now I don't remember, that if you served and you were just stationed stateside, but you.
I thought they said.
Okay.
That's what I thought they said,
Yeah.
and I'm just bringing it up to your attention in case I was wrong, or if we want to revisit or ask them, because I have no
Will
idea,
do.
and I want to do whatever they want to do.
Because Will deals with them, so.
CD 214, the veterans, release form that says there's a box for, service medals. And so again, that's the criteria that they did, because that's the criteria to be a member of the VFW.
Mhm.
The town can make whatever rules they can change it if they desire.
Mhm.
But how it exists currently is, yes, it's 3, it's resident of town for at least 1 year.
Honorable discharge.
Honorable discharge and to earn a service medal, which and again, I think if you served during Vietnam and you were, you were in Germany or something, you had no choice where you went.
Right.
You would still get it, you get a service medal for serving during that time, even if you weren't necessarily in combat. But again, that's what it is currently. We just,
Okay,
the historic society just took it from what the VFW had. If the town wants to make a change, they can certainly do that.
but that's on the form right
That's
now?
in the form right
That
now,
is on the
the
form right now.
three criteria.
Okay.
Cause like, just to give you an example, in my notes, it's, I wrote that the wall of honor, someone said the bottom line is that thousands of people, served in the military, only a few are in combat in comparison. And as long as they served in these wars, their name should get on the wall. Criteria, service and honorable discharge. So I think it would be helpful to just check with them if they want that to be a criteria for the town or not, because it seems like that's just not what I remember them saying.
Well, they were explaining, we didn't make any change in the policy.
Mhm.
Um,
But I just wonder, is their understanding consistent with what the policy is? Because it seems like there might be some confusion.
there was that list attached that I think came from the veterans property tax exemption. So maybe they were talking about the fact that you could be on that list, but yeah, maybe we should get clarification on, if you're on that list, if you served during that period, but you're stateside, you'll still be on that list. But are you saying that somebody who served during peacetime should also go on the wall?
No,
Okay. But it wouldn't necessarily go in the minutes anyway, because that was,
Okay, so Will, would you be willing to check with John Riley or Dave Ballerini as far as that third criteria?
Yeah, I thought we did, didn't you receive the form that's being used now?
yeah.
Right, you had sent it, yeah.
And, I guess, I don't know if it's come up, it certainly hasn't come up since the Historical Society took it over where, anyone's come in asking for it, and they haven't had anything in the service medal,
Mhm.
category.
I mean, Will, if you're confident that it's okay, I'd be happy with that too. I mean, if you're confident that would be,
I think, we're just following what their practice has been, so I think it would only be if you want to make a policy change and say, we want every veteran, or we want to go back to the Civil War, you know, whatever.
It's just
So-
been past
yeah.
practice.
so your opinion is that these three that are listed, I just want to make sure the minutes are accurate. So if you think this is
There were
accurate,
Definitely three.
okay,
Okay,
then
okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. Thank you
Thanks.
for clarifying.
thank you.
Okay, so then, other than that one change, can I get a motion to approve as amended?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I
I'm
have
sorry,
others.
you have more?
I'm sorry,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
My apologies.
That's okay. Thank you for,
Yep.
that was number 3.
Yep.
Number 6.
Okay,
I was just wondering, I think the minutes are okay. I just was wondering and didn't want to forget to ask whether we have any kind of RFP available or.
actually, they were working on it today. They were fine tuning it.
Okay,
Don was
okay,
fine tuning it with Jen. They were, putting it
okay,
together in a format that we've used for our previous RFPs.
okay,
So,
thank you.
so it is in the works.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Could we get an update on the next, for the next meeting or maybe a draft?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're working on it, yeah. Not a problem.
And then that was 6. I had a question about the town code, but it was just answered.
Okay.
And if we could look at 15,
Okay, okay.
role of town council, not to start an argument at all. I just think that this is, and I know this is not a criticism of Jen Savo. I know taking minutes is difficult and it's a hard job. I just think this whole thing is a little vague and doesn't really. I think if someone was wondering why this was on the agenda, these 2 paragraphs are not helpful. And I think ideally it would be rewritten to be a little more clear, but. So, and the other, I think one thing that I would ask to be, if we're not going to revise the paragraph, which I don't know, Bob, if you would want to volunteer to do it, or if you think it's okay. I don't think I'm gonna be able to have time to do it, but I think in the middle of the first paragraph where it says they felt the original vote would likely have been valid, but the town attorney acting out of caution, I think that's not appropriate for someone to read into what the town attorney's thinking, or I just think the minutes should be factual. And I would just take out acting out of caution.
Just that phrase?
Yeah,
Yeah, no
Okay.
objection.
Okay. Okay.
because otherwise, if we don't do that, then you want to put in everyone else's, but I do think that overall the two paragraphs are really vague and don't really describe what happened in a way that is coherent. In a way that would explain why this came on to be on the agenda. So I think because I can't really own the correction, and I'm not gonna have time to rewrite this. Bob, if you feel comfortable with this, then I'd be willing to let it go. I do think it's very vague, and
The deletion of that phrase.
the deletion of the
The phrase,
phrase,
yeah.
I appreciate, but
Yep.
the rest, the two paragraphs, I think don't really tell a reader who didn't go to the meeting why this is on the agenda. I think it's not clear. I think it's like.
It's a summary, but very high level.
Well, it's a summary that wouldn't tell an average reader why it's on the agenda. And like a lot of information is left out. And so it doesn't connect the dots, So like when you're saying it, at the very beginning, concerns over procedural matters specific to freedom of information laws. I mean,
The reason it came onto the, is basically because Bob had requested the item to be put on the agenda. So I could add a sentence to it per the request of the second selectman. He wanted to discuss the role of.
right, but there was a reason why it was we asked to put it on the agenda, and this paragraph alludes to that reason, but doesn't, I guess, so for example, some board members express frustration over the need for additional meeting. Like you jump from freedom of information to this frustration over additional meetings, and it doesn't connect, right?
Mhm.
Like it's very sort of choppy and does not tell the story about why this is on the agenda. And so I just think these two paragraphs tell the average person almost nothing about what happened. And if you follow, like it goes from freedom of information was a concern, and then there's frustration over additional meetings. Well, what does that have to do with freedom of information? I don't know. And
I don't know if
then,
he was just trying to, like, do a synopsis of some of the, like, or almost if they were bulleted items,
right, and again, yeah, I'm not, she's very good at taking minutes, and this is no commentary on that.
Mhm.
I hate taking minutes myself, so I appreciate when other people do it. Right,
No pressure, Nick, it's
Right.
okay.
So questioning the necessity for additional meetings, given past rulings, what's a ruling? Like, all of this is very vague. I think these two paragraphs tell people almost nothing. And I think if you ask people who are here, who come to meetings, they're probably not gonna know what we're talking about. And so I don't know. I think my preference would be either to say less or to actually put in a few lines here and there that would connect the dots for people. I don't know, Bob, you're the person who's most in a better position than anyone really to say if you like this summary or not. I just think the purpose of minutes is to
It's
tell
it's
people
not
what happened.
inaccurate, but it doesn't have any detail to it. So if you want, we'll just table the minutes and then, I don't think we can rewrite it.
You'd have to almost
Here.
watch the entire, well, not the
Yeah.
entire, but you'd have to watch up to that point in the video.
I don't know.
If you want more facts like are in
It is on record. If people questioned this item, they have the availability of the recording.
I mean, like, what does this mean? Some board members express frustration over the need for additional meetings, questioning their necessity, given past rulings that supported actions, even when agenda lacked specific items like vote. That sentence is incoherent. I don't know what it means, even though I was there. I have no idea what this sentence means. If anyone here knows what it means, I'd be really pleased to hear what you think. I just think, if we can table it and take a look, maybe we can,
Yep.
And I don't think we need to look at the video. I think we were here, we know why it's on the agenda. I think we
Alright,
can
so
just
we
put in a
put some
sentence
more,
here. Okay, thank you. That would be great.
Why don't you make a motion to do that?
Okay, that's my last
So we're gonna postpone them.
That would be great.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
making the motion to postpone?
I'll make a motion postpone.
Bob, are you gonna second?
Sure. second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we will figure out number 15. Then we have September 30th, which, I think are gonna need a little revision only because no one signed them. We have
Yep.
no idea who did them. The way they were submitted, there's no name on them. as to who
I
did
can
them.
do that.
Wait, what?
These are April 2nd.
Oh, no, we know,
April 30th.
we
April
know who
30th.
did it. We know who did it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
but
put it on,
should-
the.
should
I'll
be
put it on the
okay,
final.
all right, so if they can be resubmitted with a name,
Mhm.
okay, who did them? You-
Me.
You, oh,
You know,
I think I
the
submitted it at like 11 at night, so that's probably why I forgot to put my
the
name.
April 30th minutes, I do have to say that, I don't know if anyone noticed, but the April 30th minutes were submitted really quickly.
okay.
I know they're short, so maybe it's easier than normal, but I think it would be really great if we can get draft minutes up on a, like, I don't even know, Nick, you probably know what the time frame is, right? Like,
7 days.
7 days.
okay,
calendar days.
right, to get the draft?
Yeah.
For any minutes.
I think there's a
Um,
rule for draft and then a rule for regular minutes.
It's
No, it's motions are.
motions are 48
48 hours and then
Okay.
minutes.
and
draft
minutes,
minutes are-
any minutes
yeah.
are 7 days.
Do you think we could do that? But
Do you
like
want-
have motions posted online so people could see like what decisions were actually made during meeting? Is that something we could?
We'll work on it.
Okay.
Because sometimes it isn't always getting them things that quickly, but we'll work on
And
that.
I'm sometimes the person who's causing the delay, so I totally get, but I think if we can, just so people are not able to come to meetings, could at least look at the website and see, hey, these were the decisions that were made, that would be, I think, really
Is there
helpful.
anything else in these minutes that requires any kind of adjustment or amendment, revision besides putting Bob's name at the bottom for signature?
Not on my end.
All right, Bob, can you resubmit them
Yep,
with your
I'll
name
take
and everything, and then
The word draft
we'll
off
consider them
also.
approved with that amendment to it. Can I get a motion to approve it as amended?
Motion to approve.
Second? All in favor? I'm
Aye.
gonna second only because you're the one who signed it, so I'll second them. Okay, so those will be approved as amended with your signature on the bottom. Oops. Okay. We have with us a couple of members of the solid waste who want to give us some updates. So Eric, you have the floor or a chair, whichever you so choose.
Okay, I've got 3 topics, and so I know that there's time constraints, so we'll try and make them quick. The first is that we would like to propose that we move forward with using HelpC for our textile recycling, our textile recycling, and remove the other 3 bins which are there.
What do you call it? Help see?
Can you say the name again?
HelpC, HELPSY. And this was proposed by Scrog originally. We've spoken to Tony, we have contracts with none of the other ones which are there. He knows how to contact all of the folks to have them removed. There is an agreement with HelpC because we would get paid for the recycles, so we have a copy of that. It can be redlined as we need, but I'd like to provide that to you and sort of move forward on that, as quickly as possible.
And what were the other things that you wanted to get removed?
The 3 that would be removed would be the Red Cross, Goodwill, and Kiducation.
Education.
Does Help See take the same items that they do for books and
Everything.
clothes?
They pay for usable clothes. So the other things they don't pay for, they just get rid of them.
So they take things like blankets and any textiles, any shape, they don't, I mean, they could be torn, ripped.
Right.
Okay.
Is there any downside?
The downside would be that we are not donating to these charities, and we are taking the
Revenue from.
revenue for ourselves. Is that downside? I don't know. But that's what we're doing. There are plenty of places to donate to: Red Cross, Goodwill, go to the churches,
Right,
those bins are everywhere. The
right,
problem is they don't empty them.
right.
And so
Right.
what we see is that, you can't get stuff in. So
That's a problem.
that is a problem,
Yeah.
They
that's
don't
a
come on a
problem.
regular basis to really service them.
correct.
Yeah.
And how often would they come for help seeking?
What they had said was once every 2 weeks.
Oh.
And if you need more, they can come more, and we can put as many bins as we wish, you know, they'll put 2, they'll put 3, they'll put 4.
If it looks like it's being used regularly, they can make those adjustments.
Yep.
So could we talk about your issues one at a time? And like for an issue like this, do we make a motion to approve that or what do you? What's
I
the
mean,
process?
if you'd like to, we can have it on record that we've approved the
Yeah,
change.
yeah, I think that would be great to have it on record. I would make a motion
But we
to,
also have a contract, so we have to we have to make sure we review that.
Right.
And if there's any revisions and things,
oh,
so
right,
if you
okay.
wanna make a motion for me to give me the authority to work and review with Eric and her
What
help
is,
see.
is the contract the Help C contract?
Yes,
Okay,
So,
could we get a copy of it as well?
yep, I'll send it
Okay,
to you tonight.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so if you wanna make the motion to give me the authority to work with Eric to, and finance whoever else needs to be involved to make those revisions. And sign it, be able to sign it, so.
So moved, if you got that, Nick.
No, sure. I got it.
We'll pull it
You know,
just
we're back at the video.
said.
We're gonna put back at the video. Second,
Second,
What do they pay for textiles?
For bins, they pay $140 a ton.
140.
What we know is that we have about, in one bin, we had about 12 tons per year.
12 tons a year?
Yeah, but we had 4 bins there, but we only have the results of 1. So would it scale up by 4? I don't
How did that get measured?
know. Helpsy was actually doing it for Big Brothers, and they measure it and they gave the money to Big Brothers.
Oh, that's nice.
So.
That's great.
interesting. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, all right, so we've got Helpsy
Okay,
taken care
good. Point 2, the RFP. I mean, I've heard some discussion that it's in progress, and the question is it going to be circulated to us to review before it goes out, or how is the plan?
of. Have you talked to Don at all on the RFP?
I spoke briefly with Don on the RFP. I was waiting for him to have more of his details worked out on before I got into some of the nuts and bolts on it. But I do not feel comfortable putting the RFP out without it going through a look with the
Have
committee.
another set of eyes at it.
Good, okay. Happy to do that.
Do you mind
Just wanna
sending a
make sure.
draft to me and Bob? When it's in.
When we have all the
better
nuts
shape?
and bolts.
Yeah.
When there's a cohesive draft,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't want it or too early.
Yeah, you don't want it.
No.
Yeah.
Let's just say there were 3 iterations of it today alone.
Yeah,
That's
Work in
good, that's
progress.
great.
Yeah, it's
Well, yeah.
it's
definitely
a
a
rough
work in
draft,
progress,
work in
right.
progress,
Yeah, so yeah. So
but
we'll
it will
make sure-
get there.
So we're in the home stretch.
Do you have any kind of time frame on when the committee could get a copy? Cause I'm just thinking about, just planning your time and expectations, and I just wondering what your thoughts are in terms of like how much feedback and when would you like feedback from them? Just kind of like a rough time frame. I wouldn't hold anyone to it, just kind of curious.
I believe the intent from the public works side is to have things in place for the start of the new fiscal year.
Oh, no.
She's talking about the direct, she's talking.
No, so that's, you know, that's
Means it's moving,
that's
yeah.
contracts completed for then. So we're talking like in the next 2 weeks.
have it
Probably
out,
to
yeah.
have it actually published and out.
Yeah.
So
So you will see it
So
soon.
my question was, when can it get to Eric?
before the end of the week.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's what she was saying, you can see it, you're gonna see it soon, we hope to have it published within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So the question is, of course, whether we have contracts or whether we just have MOUs,
Right.
because
Right.
we don't really need a contract. None of them expect contracts, but
Well,
you
it's-
want to have some sort of.
Mhm.
Something in
agreement
place, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Point 3, About 3 weeks ago, the state of Connecticut put out a call for grants for solid waste diversion programs. $7.5 million is available for people to put money out there. The deadline for the grant is June 27th. So the question that I have for you, especially Leslie, is working back. What would be the timeline if we wanted to go forward with something? And I've got Cynthia here, and if any more information that you want about those grants, she can answer anything about them.
Okay,
Do you have an idea what you'd wanna get a grant for?
yeah. Yeah. That's the places.
The webinar was really to first show examples of what kinds of grants have already been given out for previous pilot programs. So we had the opportunity to hear about stories of what people who were implementing, who successfully did receive grants through this round 1 of funding. This is what they're calling round 2 of funding. So this is an opportunity for grants for municipalities specifically to have grant funding in various amounts. There's no minimum amount, there's no maximum amount, and I can tell you what other places have gotten in their grants in round 1, if that tells you anything. But there's no cookie cut type grant proposal. They're looking for innovative ways to take waste out of the waste stream. And they would like to hear what we would be proposing in our town. And before we wanted to just go off and write a grant that you may or may not be interested, we thought it was the most appropriate thing to do to talk to the Board of Selectmen, feel out if you'd be interested for exploring grant opportunities that are from deep for municipalities to divert waste out of the waste stream and thereby their tipping tonnage.
I do have a question. With some of those towns, do they have transfer stations
Some of
where
them
their
do, but
trash
not all of
is
them.
being collected and then,
It varies widely, but I can tell you that Coventry received 202,000. Greenwich 15, which was at the bottom of the amount of grants that they had. Housatonic Regional Authority, HRRA, 780,000. Manchester, 4.7 million. Mansfield's, 129,000. New Haven received about 3.3 million.
so I have to guess that they all had different kinds of programs that they were doing, because for that diversity in money, there had to be some kind of diversity in what they were doing.
Right.
SCRRRA, 4.5 million, and SECOG, 425,000. So after this webinar that I had attended to get more information on the grant process and the grant proposals, they said, if you have any questions, just reach out to us if you want to talk more about your individual town. So, actually today, Eric and I attended and we talked deep, and the two contacts that we talked about our town, they thought that for us being a smaller town, there was really a lot of impact that we could make. And they were very interested to hear about, keeping them posted what we decide to do going forward for.
Because I'm just curious, because we have townwide curbside and not a transfer station, I'm just wondering how we could do something when we have a company that's picking up the trash and taking it.
So one opportunity.
Yeah.
One opportunity would be composting. And there are places which have these compost bins that they just set out in various
Oh,
places
the
in town.
green,
Blue Earth,
There's different ones.
Yeah.
but there's different ones,
Yeah.
and
Depending on your needs.
so you could write a grant for, to buy these for us, have them throughout town, 3 or 4 places in town, and a pickup service. And, our residents can go drop their stuff off at these different places, and, we could, have, if we can get food scraps out of our trash, that's a big thing. Because about 20% of what goes into MSW is actually food waste.
now, with a company like that sets up those larger depository, whatever you wanna call them. would they provide you with a receptacle for your home would that be on the individual homeowner to?
We can write anything we want.
Oh, I just don't
That's a
know.
good idea.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna have a uniform system, it would be good to be
Yeah.
able to have everybody have the same kind of receptacle to collect it. And then bring it
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, I mean, we can write it any way we want and.
Let's write it in a way that gives us $4 million. I mean,
So,
right?
we can write it down.
Those are golden buckets.
I guess the question, just thinking in terms of timing,
Right,
June 27th, okay, when does it have to get here? When does it have to, when do you guys all have to say, yeah, we want to go forward with that particular proposal, so that we can schedule our time as well.
And the last day for questions is June 13th.
okay,
Okay, so if you can email us like Leslie, myself, and Bob and Gina. And give us a little synopsis of what you found out, so we can have a little more information to kind of look at.
so, yeah, so this sounds like an interesting
With the
possibility.
composting too.
And Paula's suggestion of everyone having a receptacle, I think would lead to greater involvement, I think. So you don't have to be at home wondering like, do I put this in a
Yeah,
cardboard box?
everybody knows
or
what they have to
right.
put it in. Yeah.
But do you off the top of your head have like an alternative example that we could hear about or?
So another one which came up as a potential is how to get rid of construction waste,
Oh,
because we don't have a way. And so using, the recycle center as a place for construction waste, but charging for it, but setting up the system to do that. So those are a couple, but this only came out a few weeks ago. We haven't even had a meeting yet.
right.
But
That's how
in
it always
order
is,
to
right? You don't
get
have a lot of time.
you don't have a lot
Yeah.
of time. And so in
Yeah.
order to sort of get to some thinking, we have to know what timeline we're working to.
Right.
Because-
I mean, it'd almost be better to just, because the time is so short, to latch onto something and go for it. So at least we get something out of it.
But
If
we
we
want
I
to
can.
gotta
our
say, June
timeline.
26th is like a year away compared to some of the grants that we've had,
Yeah.
like 10 days to apply for it and then have to wait 9 months to get the money.
We
So,
understand
yeah.
that, but it's still,
No. but
since
you
it's
still
all
have to work.
volunteer labor.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would focus on
Absolutely.
one thing or the other, not try to do.
Well,
Yes, Bob is correct. You wanna pick an avenue. And that's the path that you wanna take. One of my questions wrapping around this is. Can these grants also be used to restructure and redesign the recycling
Yes.
center if necessary?
So in order to sort of feel out, I wanted to find out what they thought we had our best chance of success for grant writing. So in discussion with them, my understanding is that the organic diversion seems to be a greater probability of funding.
Mhm.
However, you can write whatever you want for a grant proposal. And if they think you've got a great plan, there's no reason that they wouldn't fund that, but it looks like less of the push for this funding that's available on the table is gonna go towards things like designing your infrastructure. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but.
It
grants
won't
are
be at
hard
the
these
top of the
days.
list. Yeah.
Oh,
And I think,
yes.
I think we have a better probability of receiving a grant proposal if we go for organic diversion. Right
So
now.
the food waste, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
round
Yeah.
one almost went exclusively to
Oh.
food waste.
Like, think
So
of it
it's very
also like how much data you would also be able to get from weighing what food scraps we are able to divert that can later be used for other grants in the future, that you're already doing it, that you know how much you're diverting out of your waste. And that's really meaningful data that could be used for powerful applications in the future.
Mhm. So would we say in the grant that Bethany has no existing process for collection of food waste and
Is
that
there a
there might be
is there
some
a container of
resistance, so we need
recycling now?
extra money because we
John
have
talked
to
about
do
putting one there.
education, we have to do whatever.
Did not happen.
What do you think, Eric?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can say whatever we want.
No, but I mean, it's true,
We're
right?
we're not composting it, we're collecting it to be.
To be
trucked to
spent somewhere else.
Right.
You know where it
There'd
would
be
be
a
sent?
larger
Like where would it
We
ultimately
could do
go?
whatever we want. I mean, that probably would go to Southington.
Okay,
I mean, that would be the logical place because they've got the big anaerobic digester there.
what is that?
Don't they make like mulch, not mulch, but like,
They make compost.
compost, yeah.
Oh,
So, I mean, they take everything there and, you it's a anaerobic digester, so even the bags can go in there, the compostable bags can go in there and you know, months later you have compost and they actually give it away to people who are playing with them. So,
There's obviously a lot of details that are going to your scope and the cost estimate, like, are we
Yeah.
buying, somebody mentioned, are we buying containers for everybody in town to, the ones to transport to those, or just those who are interested in?
right.
So let me. ask you-
Identifying locations and what improvements have to be made,
all that has to
because
be.
I'm sure if it's, are we just feeding bears or? Right.
And there are different formats for accessibility because they have to be locked for animals for sure. But you can do passcodes, so you can have a code that you use to put in, or you can also use apps on your phone to open them as well. There's different
That's okay.
strategies.
So my question is,
I like garbage.
you would have to get information from this company
There's several.
to put into the grant, because you have to say, this is what we're looking to do. And get all of the,
Yeah, we already
The
have
cost,
preliminary information
we
that we
have to know
got
what we
today
put in the
from
grant.
one of the companies called Metro Store.
Mhm.
That specifically have information for working with municipalities like ours. I believe Woodbridge is diverting 7.2
Woodbury.
Woodbury, 7.2 tons per month
Per month.
currently.
Wow.
And this is not 100% of reduction, but we also do have data for even if we had 5% of our town contributing, what that would be an equivalent of monetary savings.
Sure,
just
our
for
tipping fees would be,
waste
you're taking it
diversion.
out of the trash.
But imagine if we had 50% of people in town that were willing to put their food scraps.
Right, we would notice the savings, like in a big way,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very much
Yeah.
so.
very much, yeah.
So interesting, because I think the education piece is gonna be critical, because it's complicated, right? I remember when I first met you, I said, whoa, I don't know any of this, but I think,
Does the elementary school do anything with, or even educating the kids as far as, the food scraps and stuff?
They actually had a webinar in that this week, which I attended, and I have the recording if anybody at the school would like to.
I do know that the school would be interested in the food composting. I know that they would be, because I had discussed this with Brandy last year. To go back to your point, a grant application would have to be turned into into our staff grant writer for review, a minimum of 10 days before it is due.
Okay, so
She
that
needs
would
it. We would need a minimum of 10 days for in-house review of the grant application.
Applications can be entered as early as May 8th.
We're not ready.
Sure, but.
Okay, so we need to get it to you by June the 13th.
No,
That's-
no, so,
that's-
what did you
Well,
say, the 27th?
If they are due to they're due
So-
on the 27th, so that would give
By the
us,
15th, by the
that-
15th, you would need it.
yes, I mean, the 13th would work. That gives us
2 business weeks.
2 weeks to
we
our
also
in-house.
wanna maybe not wait until last minute, because,
Right.
your review, you might have
If there are
questions.
comments that
Yeah,
have to be addressed, you're not
Yeah.
leaving yourself any time.
Yeah, because the last day, if I don't know the answer and I need to go back to deep with the question, I have to do that by June 13th.
Okay, so have it to us the first week of June.
Okay.
okay, so who's gonna be working on this draft?
I am. I have written grants for, induced pluripotent stem cells to be reprogrammed into hematopoietic stem cells, and that was funded with the kinetic stem cell grant. And I've written, a grant for viral initiation of autoimmune disease. So this is in stem cells or immunology, but I am a biologist and I hope I can put something together that's helpful and easy to read and reasonable.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm still trying to interpret the first one you listed. I was gonna say, but that's okay.
I've written grants successfully before. I've never written a grant in this topic, but I already have a lot of great data.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So to your other question about the school doing the Sustainable Bethany has actually been working with them to try and get that started.
Okay.
We actually have people who have done it at Amity High School. And so we're just trying to line up the right people to try and get, but that would be even another one that could possibly.
Good to educate the kids and kind of get them on board to, you know,
What about
when
the
they're
middle
home and
school?
throwing out their food.
Sharon just made a key point to me. If the Board of Selectmen intends to approve the grant application, do you not want that on your
That
June
would be the June meeting.
3rd agenda?
That would be the June 3rd agenda. Yeah, so you need to get that back.
So would the board be comfortable with the application in a draft stage before before we have had a final review of it? Or do you want the final submission?
I'm okay with looking at a draft.
It may have to
At
be
least a
draft.
draft, we
Yeah.
know
Okay.
where, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because it could avoid having a special meeting. So, but having said that, I'm willing to come to a meeting because I think getting this done is important, right?
Yeah,
So I'll make a joke about it, but I'm willing to
Yeah.
come and meet whenever we can to get it in by the deadline.
but today is May 6th, so even if you got it to us by before Memorial Day.
But just to.
Oh, Memorial Day is the 26th. It's early this year, remember? It's not like the 30th.
Oh, that's right, okay, so
The board's not
you
gonna
have
have
another
the
week to do
final
that.
application to review for approval purposes, as long as the board appreciates that. Because I don't know, there may be no changes that come out of the substantive review, or there may be substantive changes, I don't know. We're kind of putting ourselves in a predicament, potentially.
So what do you suggest?
Oh, well, I'm not about to dare mention a special meeting. I know, but I just, you know, because of where we stand in time, I think to be fair to the subcommittee, you want to give them enough time to get this done. I don't know, maybe we could speed up the 2-week review and maybe get it done in a week. But I don't think you're gonna have an actionable item on the 3rd to review and vote on.
It may be more of a progress
Or
report.
just a discussion.
Right, but I mean,
Just a
even for you to
discussion,
discuss it, if there hasn't been staff review.
Well, why don't we ask Cynthia, how much time do you think? Like, we're
You're gonna
talking
get them
about
tomorrow.
deadlines, but
Yeah.
you're the one
There is
that's,
no cookie cut mold for this, so I can really make the application as long or as short as I want to. I think they should be able to sit down and read the grant in half an hour and put it in a yes or no pile. I think. for you
but
to
my
be able to
question was, with your schedule and your other obligations, how much time, like, what's your time frame and?
The information, one thing that would be
Okay.
great that I don't exactly have is if we had data that showed how many people in town would be interested, that would be amazing to add to it. If you have any ideas on how we could do that to enter this kind of information.
Like a survey or
It's
something?
a compelling argument that not only does the town have support of it from the Board of Selectmen, but also there are people who are interested in using this. That would be great if I could add that too.
Right,
It just
right,
shows more of a, you know.
right, because you're talking about
Community
funders
interest.
who might worry about giving a town money when there's no interest.
For sure.
Right.
You don't want to put an
Yeah.
infrastructure in place and then no
Yeah.
one's using it, but I don't think that's the case here. It's more. We'll be implementing the infrastructure and then we'll get data of how much.
I wonder, is there a way,
Well, Sharon has a comment, I just want to let her jump in.
I think it might be helpful if you approach the Economic Development Commission, who's been doing some 1 and 2 question surveys on the town Facebook pages. And I would suggest that
It can be
you,
shared out.
you see who it might be, ask if people would be interested. And I think something else
Was it
that
on
would
the
be
town or their
critical,
own page?
both.
Both, okay.
Well, I don't know, you can put it on the town one,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
they put it on
Oh,
all
absolutely.
of the local
Right.
Facebook oriented pages.
Right.
But you know, some people don't, I was just gonna, that's my comment, I was just gonna make, some people don't have Facebook, and could we do it on the town website at all?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you can
No,
go.
the town website, not the town Facebook.
Town website.
Okay,
Yeah, you can put it on
okay.
the town website.
That would be good.
Absolutely.
Okay, another, I think, important question related to buy-in and for your planning is whether people would be willing to keep a pail of garbage in their house for a week, or are they gonna put it outside?
They don't have to.
Well, they
take
could put it in their
whatever
Take
garage,
it every
but
day?
Whenever they want.
Well,
I
there's
think
a lot of
better plan
detail.
For a holding.
Have you seen a kitchen?
There's a lot of
composter?
details, because you mentioned picking up at the house, like a
There's one on my
pickup service.
I don't think we would do that.
Oh, I thought you said that. So you're just talking about, maybe they provide containers.
Could we have one conversation, because I can't
Yeah.
follow, you know, both.
Yeah, if asked if it would be, if they would support, would be more likely to support it, if they had. If it was provided, then you could put that in the grant and say we have X number of households, and
I love it.
if we give them, right, because
Thank you.
that way you get to ask them.
And I assume you're talking about the voluntary program only. Okay. Because obviously different, if somebody's like, this will be forced on you and.
Yes.
I mean, if you compost in your backyard, I don't want you bringing it here,
And having to be driven to,
having it be driven and then
I
hauled
mean,
somewhere
some
else.
people do it in their backyards.
well, that's the other thing is, if you're looking to boost it up, you may also, it would take away from your numbers that we get measured, but there could be a backyard or a composter thing too, that could be like, for those people who have the land area.
They want to do it differently.
Yeah.
They can.
You could,
I mean,
buy
you know,
those. They're
They
not-
may be doing it already now if they're
What
doing it
your
in their
compost
backyard.
is. I mean, if you're a vegetarian, everything can go outside, but if you're a carnivore, you know, you can't put it in your outdoor.
Some people do.
compost, but not a good idea. And they have animals.
Yeah,
Right.
so are we good? You're gonna be working on the grant
So
and,
the decision is we want to go forward with this compost strategy. That's what we're hearing.
yeah, she's gonna work on the grant, and we can certainly put some. Give us how you would like to word the question that we put out there on the Facebook and on the website, so that people understand what you're thinking. I don't wanna make up the question.
Because,
I
right,
think
you're
I
right,
wanna
because it
know-
could be like getting at interest, like if it's just yes or no, people might say, I don't know what this is, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
no.
I
But if
mean,
we
it
can
has to
ask
be
the question in a
voluntary, let
way.
people know it's a voluntary
Mhm.
composting kind of thing.
Cycling center and sit out for a Saturday and
That's one way to get some of the word out for the people that travel.
When is the
there.
next bulletin?
It will come out.
Too late?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll come out like around Memorial
Yeah.
Day or shortly after Memorial Day, so our meeting is like shortly after that.
actually, that would be okay. You could do that anytime. Just to get, it doesn't mean people who are interested would necessarily send an email to the town. But it wouldn't hurt just to,
We could,
every person who emails is a data point of someone who's interested.
Right. And I think if we focus on the cost savings, I think that will,
letting
Make-
people know that
right.
it's a grant that we're looking to do this with, and it's not being put on the taxpayers.
And
for-
when do we get you apply for the grant and
We
then,
would find out in summer of this year.
before they gave us money to implement it, there'd be some kind of a contract and then
Mhm.
we'd have to review the
The
terms.
specifics of it, yeah.
So in case it's like, this is a great deal, it's free, but by signing it, you have to agree to do it for 5 years minimum after, and it's gonna cost X. Those are all,
We gotta look at all the fine print,
Right.
yeah.
And as an opportunity, I mean, we've got the annual meeting, you know, we can have handouts there.
Yeah, if that's in a couple of weeks, so yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's in a couple of weeks, sure. Mhm. Okay,
We could get over to do that.
yeah,
Yeah, just
I
good.
mean, we certainly could put something in the bulletin with the town of Bethany email, with whatever question, so it's the same question going up everywhere. whether it's the website, the
Mhm.
Facebook pages, in the bulletin, whatever, it's got to be the same thing.
Yeah, and Eric, do you think if, I'm just thinking of a question that would include, like, having people get the equipment that they need to do this, right? Like, we're not just saying, do you want to do this? It's
Right.
hard and you have to change your behavior. We're saying, if you have the tools, meaning X, Y, Z, would you be interested,
And
in
participating. yeah.
participate, or something like that?
And you know what you
That's-
also have to stress too is the point that
Approach it has to-
this is going to
Yeah.
save the town money. By participating in this brings down our tipping fees because we're lightening up the trash. Like we tried, we
Right.
wanted people to recycle so that they're lessening our tipping fees. That's why we have a recycling center.
And then everyone gets a tax rebate.
Yeah, one of the things will be how frequently it's picked up and brought, because if the stuff sits in there in the summer for weeks, it's gonna be so nasty. I won't open it a second time. It's not supposed to be composted in the.
96 gallons and it doesn't have smell to it, it's completely shut, but it's also weighed too.
Mhm.
So it already sort of knows when it needs to be picked up, some of these
Oh,
models.
okay.
Oh,
But they'll come as often as needed. I would imagine if you wanted to have several locations so that in different places of town, that it would just be a few minutes for someone to be able to get to one. That some areas would probably have more traffic, like I would guess that at the recycling center, if you put one there, that would probably have the highest amount of usage,
because if
right?
people are coming with their recycling potentially at some point during the week. They're going up there anyway for the recycling, they're gonna bring their, and if people are gonna bring their composting, they'll bring their recycling. We can help.
So that would probably be picked up with a higher frequency than something that doesn't have as much traffic.
Yeah, yeah. You have to know what the foot traffic's gonna be in a neighborhood or an area, because some people may not want something near their neighborhood that's potentially gonna attract animals of some.
I can show you some of the containers, but they're raccoon proof, they're bear proof, they're good for the purpose.
Okay.
One other question or point on it. Are we going to limit this to the residential? Or are we also going to go commercial as well? i.e. the school, restaurants? Would we consider putting them at, the town properties, i.e. Vets Park? I'm just, how engaged you want to get the total traffic of the town of Bethany.
There's actually a formula for them to help decide how many units you would need. I'm guessing 4, but it has to do with the number of people who are willing to participate in the program and town size. So the more people we can get to say, yeah, that would be great. I would be interested in that. Just that would help tremendously. Going forward in the future, once you have something in use, then you can prove we're using it, people are doing it. And if you keep on seeing trend lines going up as waste is getting more expensive, then I think that is the best thing that you could have in hand for other types of grants in the future. That you have a program in place, you're doing it, people are learning how to do it. This is our opportunity to get it started, try it, learn about it. And then going forward, hopefully it'll just keep on increasing in participation. Because it's not gonna get less expensive to get rid of waste.
It'll be more, right? So can I just follow up on Leslie's question? So you're contemplating that it would include a commercial and.
I think that's really for the Board of Selectmen to decide, but the way I think about it is that the businesses in town, they already have they should have their own waste, right? But they'd be paying essentially to get rid of their waste. If they circumvent that and they don't put it into their own waste that they're paying for, then they'd be going into our stream, but this is organics. So it is for the good of getting things out of waste and not being shipped anywhere to go to landfills.
So
But-
does the school pay for their own waste removal?
Mhm.
So they do their own?
Well, Yes, they do, but the taxpayers of Bethany are paying.
Right,
it.
right, right, right.
Yeah,
I think it would be
Right.
in many ways simpler if it were town residents, but. I mean, how much waste is generated for food scraps by businesses in town?
I'm sure the school is huge, because I know my own kid, like, you know, it's like,
The
everything gets.
students are gonna start having their own separate programs
Okay,
for collecting food waste. There's
Yeah, I don't
two-
think the town wants to get into subsidizing. Because in the future, when the grants come, we're not gonna wanna pay for the businesses,
Right,
the restaurants' disposal costs.
so what I'm hearing,
Right.
it sounds like we should just keep it to the
like
residents.
residents,
okay.
potentially school, yeah.
Ooh. And like you said, it could evolve, right? If it
Right.
makes sense later to add something or not add something, it could evolve.
Let's see what the initial, you know, interest will be and how we can promote it, and then you can always expand on it. You don't wanna start big and then find out. Then it just kind of tanks the whole thing. You wanna start kind of with a small and let it bloom kind of.
So if we get language for a survey question, how quickly could that get on the town website? Is that quick or, I mean, I have no idea how
Oh,
that's
yeah,
done. Okay,
we can put stuff up
okay,
quickly,
okay.
quickly. You good?
That's all we had.
Okay, fantastic, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the appointment for two new members to the Economic and Development Commission. Amy Rushlow would be a regular member to fill a vacancy until 6/30/2027, and Michael Guthrie would be a regular member to fill a vacancy until 6/30/2029. Can I get a motion to approve these two people that were recommended by the
Isn't that one of the ones that's in the ordinances to be changed? So that
the Board of
we
Selectmen?
do it?
Yeah, well, I'm putting it on the record now, so we can have it on the record that they're being approved by the board.
Okay, so after we vote, you'll appoint them?
Yeah,
I don't have any objection.
okay.
No,
You good?
no,
Okay,
I would
so
move-
for the record, we are approving Amy and Michael for the new members of the commission.
Is this an official motion or is it just,
Well, I usually do as an informational thing because we're changing that
Right.
when the codes get approved, but
Right.
I figured since we're here and we're together, we could approve them together.
sounds good.
Okay, all right, so we're good. All right, so congratulations to Amy and Michael. We do not have any tax refunds for tonight. We only have one cemetery deed for a Teresa Strack. She actually has 7 plots, graves 9, 10, 11, and 12 in row D, and graves 9, 10, and 11 in row E, all in section E. So can I get a motion to approve this deed for Teresa Strack?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will make sure she gets her deed. Simpson property, Vin, please.
We closed, the town owns the property.
Oh, I thought you were gonna tell me it's almost there.
Almost there. Well, let me just say it this way. The town owns the property, yet we're almost there. In that, like everything else, not just in Bethany.
Bob called it.
What?
Bob called it.
Right. Nothing goes as easily as you would expect it to.
That's true.
So, positive note, town owns the property. The administrator's deed conveying title to the town has been recorded on land records. The town has received the wire of the grant from Deep. So the town has been reimbursed for that portion of the transaction. The grant with the auto bond continues to be in work status. That grant was never gonna fund until 1 year following the purchase.
Oh,
So it wasn't gonna be have all the funds at closing, no matter what.
How much is that gonna be?
Oh, well, I believe the 2 grants in total exceed the purchase price, so I believe,
I mean, do you have to, it doesn't have to be exact. I just like,
the purchase price was $390.
Yeah.
The Deep was, I believe, about $250-ish.
248.3.
Okay, I was rounding. And that was a total guess on my part, so thank God. So, and then the, Autobahn, I think is 172. There's abouts, because
Okay.
250, 350, that puts us above 400, purchase price 390.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right, so then we have the miscellaneous costs like the survey and the.
right.
So, everything should be included under the grant monies. So, Linda, Francois and I have been working together. She's been wonderful and has really been pushing, people around.
Great.
Yes, so, yes, so you are the owners of it to go out and enjoy a passive recreational walk. Make sure it's on, our list of properties for insurance purposes.
Hmm.
Bob, for instance, is going to be writing a little something up to put in the bulletin for June, because they're going to be working on a trail through the property so people can.
So yes, so this could come off your agenda.
Yay!
Yes.
Wow.
It seems like it's been there forever. Yes.
Do we have to provide the rest of the financing and then get reimbursed by Audubon?
Well, yes, so the town advanced the entirety of the purchase price because
Oh,
we were timing
okay.
when we had to close because of the extension that we entered into with the seller. Where if we didn't close by a date certain, we were gonna lose all our interest in it. So we funded the purchase price, the town funded the purchase price in its entirety. The sum of 248 and some change was wired to the town as the state grant through DEEP.
Okay.
So that came in as a reimbursement. And Autobahn will be also treated a reimbursement, but it will probably not hit until the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
It only took how many years to get this done?
Yes, and so that's what I'm saying. Yes, we're almost there.
So, thank you for the update, something to celebrate. Number 11 is on hold about the indoor use of space, because I think we still need to kind of find out what kind of liabilities potentially are part of that, so we're not quite there yet. I did get a request for an installation of a memorial bench. I have reached out to the bench company, they still make them. So, the question is where we would like to put it. They don't have a preference. We have put a couple of them up down around the lake, down at near the pavilion. I don't know if anyone has any other thoughts as to where the potential. Oh, we could potentially put one at, when we get the property, if we get the property on Russell Road, we could put one there at the opening of the park. As somewhere that people can sit and relax, it's just a thought, you know, because I mean, now that we are getting these other pieces of property, and it's gotta be somewhere that they can actually get in and put it. It's gotta be easily accessible, because you have to put a slab. So, and this bench potentially will cost these people anywhere between $3,000 and $3,500. Between the cost of the bench, the slab, the installation, the delivery. There's a whole set of, because I went back to look at the last one we did a couple of years ago, and it was about $3,200. So just looking at the potential costs could be a little more this, 2 years later. So this bench is being requested by, just so you know, I can give you the names after, because it's a little spelling. It's Sarah Hasha and Diana Balabani, and they are asked, her last name is McSherry, actually. They are looking to put the bench in memory of Andrew John McSherry, who was apparently a longtime resident of Bethany. So, just something to think about. I can, reach back out to them. We have a couple of choices location, but as I'm thinking about us acquiring that new property potentially on Russell Road, I think it might be a nice addition to that
Mhm.
area since it's gonna be access to some nice trails and things over there. Just a thought. Your thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Instead of we keep putting them in the same place, it'd be nice to kind of have them. The last one actually that we did put up a couple of years ago, the young man who passed away, he liked hanging out over on, oh my gosh, over by the community garden.
Oh,
over at
yeah.
Cole Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And he liked hanging out over there, so his bench is over there, so people could sit by the community garden and by the water area there and just enjoy the peace and quiet over there. So, okay, so I just wanted to bring you kind of up to speed with, you know, with that.
Is there gonna be any need for like any, like if the trails are gonna be, like, is there room, I guess?
Well, we're gonna have to look and see when it gets cleared, because we haven't acquired the property yet.
Yeah.
So we have to acquire the property, then see how it's cleared, because there is an old shack on it that needs to be demolished and cleared. So once that's all cleared, then we can get a better logistic as to
Space. Yeah,
where the bench can be placed.
I think it's a good idea though, because it's sort of,
Yeah,
it's like
it's an
a,
inviting thing to
Yeah.
to the trails and such, so, okay, but I just, like I said, I wanted to bring you kind of up to speed with that.
do they have it ready or they?
No,
just
no, no,
wanted
it
to
still has
know?
to be ordered because I'm gonna have to
Okay.
ask them what they want on the plaque that goes on the bench.
Mhm.
Because there's requirements for that as well. So, just to have it on record, can I have a motion that we're okay with, the placement of this bench once we?
To accept the donation of a memorial bench,
yeah.
location to be determined.
It's basically, they'll be covering all the.
Yeah.
The costs of it, so it's not on the taxpayers, they will be paying all the costs. For the bench and the installation and all of that. So,
I mean, I would move to make a motion to accept the donation of a memorial bench in honor of Andrew John McSherry.
okay. Fine.
Second.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I will work with with them and, we'll move forward on it. Perfect. Okay. The next item is, review of the policy that was provided in the packet. Now I have, the title of it said Town of Bethany, abuse and molestation prevention policy for municipal employees, but the actual policy itself refers to the Park and Rec department, so I'm,
So just to give you a little primer on this, so as you know, I'm town attorney or special town attorney in a number of municipalities. In the town of Orange's insurance carrier had required that the Orange adopt a policy, an abuse and molestation prevention policy for municipal employees, which is what it was titled. We had sent
Okay.
over this form,
okay,
and then it related to Park and Rec.
theirs did as well,
Yes.
okay.
So I just left it alone, but
Okay.
there's no pride in authorship here if you,
Okay,
because theoretically, this should apply to everyone.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Right.
because that's why, that's what I
Exactly.
thought it was, and then I started reading, it. I was
Right,
like, okay,
but
this just
because,
refers to.
you know, theoretically, you know, everyone should abide by these types of.
Especially because of the location of town hall.
Right.
Mhm.
Right, we're so close to the school. When I started reading, I had the same reaction.
I
I
got
thought,
a
why?
little bit.
Yeah, me
This
too. I'm
was,
like, why?
this was really something that the carrier provided to the town, you know, it was long.
So they provided a draft?
This is verbatim,
Okay.
except for the, you know, I changed the town's name
Right.
and, you know, cleaned it up a little bit.
But does that make sense to you?
No,
Like that,
right.
that it should apply to
I think
everybody,
it
not
should, it
just,
should be like an ethics policy,
Mhm.
right? It just applies to everyone,
right,
right? Now it may be more specific to Park and Rec when you're getting into certain subjects, like you may not need a criminal background check to hire administrative assistant.
why not?
Everybody,
Well, that's pretty much statement, and then I'll let you,
Okay.
then I'll agree with you. You know, you may not need a criminal background check to hire an administrative assistant to assist the first select woman.
Why not?
Well, because it's not required.
Yeah,
But doesn't mean you shouldn't, or you couldn't,
Mhm.
or, but we don't. But, right, so but now we do. So, so these are the things where, it's not necessarily universal, but I do believe that when you read it, it should apply to everyone,
Can I
so.
make a recommendation?
It's a little too specific to Park and Rec.
It is.
References it everywhere, yeah.
Can we postpone this and we split it and make two? So that there's one that's specifically earmarked to Park and Rec and one that's the general employees?
Well, I
Or,
was gonna say,
Can I ask
go
something?
ahead.
Would it be possible before we even did that?
Yeah.
To get this in like a Word form where we could redline?
Yeah.
And then we could talk about, because if we can get a draft that applies to everyone that we like, that might be the easiest thing to do.
That's,
Cause I
Okay.
had like so many comments, it got like, I'm like, this is gonna take 2 hours just to talk about.
no,
So that it
that's
might be
what,
better to
that's
just
why we're-
review it and then come back or
Yeah.
email, and then come
I
back
would
and
rather
talk
we
about.
postpone it and really be
Right.
able to pull it
Yeah.
apart a little better.
the only thing that I added that was not in the carrier was the last
The very
page.
last page?
The acknowledgement page, which I was shocked that they didn't
Right.
have. I think
I
this-
agree.
This is probably the most important
Right.
page
To
of the whole
acknowledge
thing.
it, yeah.
Right.
And I added, just because of the state of book, files, in Park and Rec, that, once it's signed, it's to be filed and maintained in the employee's employment file. And be reviewed annually.
Mhm.
So, because these are the types of things that should be in employment files.
Yeah.
And, we, again, as we're going through policies and procedures and whatnot, there might even be, maybe even town officials should have an employment file, even though you're not employees. Because if you're gonna sign this,
Where's it
Yeah,
going?
where's it gonna
Yeah.
go,
Right.
right? And if you think about it, if someone were to make a complaint about a town official, if you don't have a file to put something in,
Right.
where's it go?
Well,
Right.
I think we do have files only because people have their tax forms and
Well,
their
right,
whatever, so
right, so-
everybody should have a file.
Right, when we were going through last summer, I was finding it very challenging to locate those files. So, meaning any, I think that there was an effort, but it may not have kind of gotten to where it needs to
I
go.
mean, I think that's a good idea.
Right,
I do. I don't see the harm in it at all.
there is no harm.
It's like a good way to organize other stuff as well. Does anyone have any thoughts on the title, the abuse and molestation? I think that's
Something we can
odd.
work
I
on,
think
we
it's
can work
odd.
on it.
You know
We
what?
can work on
If
that.
you go onto my best friend's website, Google it, and you Google it, you're gonna find, it's a policy that is adopted, identically throughout the country. But it's, other policies are gonna come up that are similar to it. So just because everyone might be using this, doesn't mean you have to,
Right.
right? But, again, I just wanted to give it to you as is and as changed by myself with the last page,
Right.
because an insurance carrier
Mhm.
said something to one of my
Yeah,
other
no,
municipal
that's
clients.
really helpful.
Okay, and I'm going to email this to you in Word format later.
Oh, that's great. So you
So-
do have it in Word.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Okay.
took their
Can I-
PDF and I converted it to Word and
Well,
then I
you got
cleaned it
it
up.
because of PDF, because it was part of the
Oh, right,
package, it was part of the
right.
packet.
Right.
Can I get a motion to postpone it so that we can work on it?
As long, I was gonna make a couple comments on it too. I don't know whether we need it or not, but I have an idea what children are, but then it said vulnerable adults. I wasn't sure what that was. Is that like people who are counselors who might get sexually harassed or
Vulnerable
something?
adults, I would think would be
Elderly.
with elderly people who you're
Yeah.
taking care of, like, so it could be you're transporting in your bus.
Okay,
Right.
right, I forgot the Park and Rec could serve handicapped people.
Park and Rec serves everyone.
Okay,
Yeah.
does it need to be defined or you think it's kind of, it
Well,
doesn't really need to
I
be?
feel vulnerable at times.
I mean,
But
having
mentally.
a definition section, even a short one, doesn't hurt, because I think that is a good example, and I think like, what's molestation? Like,
Definition section.
I think a definition section would be helpful, and,
well, again, you gotta be careful. We should, if we're gonna define things like molestation, then I think we're gonna
I
want.
don't really like the word at all, because I think it's covered under abuse, and I think that makes the whole policy address only things that are more serious and not really the less serious things, which I think might be a weakness.
Sometimes you put too much in and then you kind of earmark yourself into a,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was just trying to think of, but I mean, I'm happy to look,
Yeah.
put some thoughts and.
Well, only in that
Make
you
it
don't
clear.
want it, the inadvertent, you know, by defining it, you could be carving something out that
Mhm.
might
Mhm.
otherwise have been included. So, but if you look around the state and the country at definitions of that word, you're gonna find them.
Or we could say, these are examples
Yeah.
and they're not, you know.
Exactly,
right,
non-exclusive.
Right,
Right.
right. Cause I do think, I agree with Bob, like some people might read this and say, I have no idea what this means
What it means,
exactly, as it
Yeah.
applies to our everyday, you know,
Yeah.
walking around town or
Yeah.
everyday interactions with town or employees or whatever. But I won't even go into my stuff then. If we're gonna hold and look at.
I appreciate that.
Postpone it.
Yes. We'd be
No,
here at
no.
least till 10,
No,
because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah,
about
I'll
this.
do motion. Yeah, I just had,
Motion to postpone,
there's a
okay.
typo in paragraph
Yes,
3
the
and
two
then
should-
on
because
page
we're
6,
yeah.
there's I think there's an area where something was bolded and may have heading.
And then it misses, so
shouldn't-
there's a
yeah, yeah.
sentence that's missing
All
something.
right, but
Yeah.
if it's gonna all be reviewed,
I missed the
motion
typo.
to,
Oh, good job.
Gina, do you want a second? Yes, I found those two mistakes too, Bob.
from the table. or
Do you want to second his motion?
Yes,
To
yes,
postpone?
yes, I
Okay, all
do.
in favor?
I,
Okay, so item 13 is postponed. Leslie, that puts you up to grants. She's taking a breath there. I'm nervous.
Well, the
Should we go
steep
back to
pro-
this?
No, the steep project is almost complete. And there is no steep funding there will be no awards funded for 25. They may be changing the rules for the next go around, which will hinder a small town's ability to get funding because they're looking at
Oriented districts, yeah.
transit-oriented districts. Well, we are not a transit-oriented district, and it defies logic because it's the
Small.
small town.
Yeah. So,
Would we
yes,
do anything with Route 63 or 69 maybe? I mean, would that be possible?
No, because what they're referring to,
bus stations,
bus
train
stations, train stations,
Oh.
High density.
Yeah.
housing.
high-density housing around both of
So
those.
which small towns have all that? Do any?
None, so
Not the rural, yeah.
their new guidelines and parameters kind of
Yeah.
defeat the purpose of calling it a steep grant.
It seems.
I reached out to Leslie
like,
Zuppis
I don't
to
know.
oppose that.
maybe the Hartford
because-
line or something, does that go through some little smaller towns that might,
But you have to have like a station,
yeah.
like where the
So
train
if
would, or
if
bus
they
would
built the
actually
North
stop.
Haven train station, then they
Yeah.
could use it or
We're a
something.
pass-through town. We're not a transit-oriented district. We're a
Yeah,
pass-through.
there's not gonna be anything in the northwest,
Yeah.
northeast corners of the state.
Oh,
Right,
thank
Bunch
you,
of
thank
small
you.
towns.
so,
Yeah, so that we have to watch that
yeah,
they don't go and change that because that really is a detriment to us for projects. If they make those changes. And I did email Leslie Zuppis and asked her to please oppose those changes. So,
we are approaching the halfway point on dollar spend on the $1 million Deloro. Projects are moving along. We are blocking off portions of the parking lots during the day because they're working on the back of the building or bricks work and that. Clearly, we have a potential for a new grant to come forth, which I actually have on the Board of Finance's agenda for next month to set a date to get the committee together.
Thank you, got it. Mhm.
And that's all I've got right now.
okay. All right, we need, our next item is actually going to take us into executive session, which need to invite Lynn, Leslie, and Sharon, because I think there's monetary pieces to this that, thank you. But Nick's gonna hang out and wait for us, when we come out. So may I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Can I just ask, I want to ask again, just for, because I always do, why it's an executive session versus open session?
Yeah, so this is an action related to the town's acquisition of real property that is subject to a contract. So it could it could relate to contract negotiations and strategy. That's why it's an executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so may I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
A
Second.
second, and it is 8 o'clock on the button. I am going to turn off the audio and the video as we go into executive. turn on the camera. And I'm going to turn on
Get up and walk
the
to the door.
continue recording. Why is it not saying on that?
Oh.
I guess it's recording.
It usually just announces it the first
Oh, hold
time.
on. Why is it saying, oh,
There used to be a red light on the owl and now there's
yeah,
not.
that's working. It's just the
Yeah.
computer decided not to,
Okay.
Okay, now we're back in action at, 8:52. We came out of executive session, and our next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action on the acquisition of 101 Russell Road. So, we have Bob, I believe you wrote down,
Hopefully what is the, I move we put on the call, the town meeting, an item that reads as follows: to authorize acquisition of the 101 Russell Road property by the process of eminent domain in accordance with the purchase terms approved by the May 15th, 2023 town meeting.
Katie made that motion. Gina, do you want?
I will second the motion.
Okay, do we have any other comments or questions? We will certainly, put together some information on that.
Make sure you vote.
Right, we have. a
Yes,
vote.
we're going to, oh, I know this, I just want to say that we will put together, some information on that. So we'll have some questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Fantastic.
So it's unanimous.
It is unanimous. We have, it has our full support. And we will make sure that that does get on the call, that will get mailed to the household with all of the other budget items and things to be approved.
Yeah, and we wanted the minutes to reflect that the sellers are in support of this as well. And that this is the board's recommendation to the town meeting.
Right.
Was there anything else that we missed? Forgot?
Don't think so.
Okay.
Because we'll put together any other information, with regard to any additional costs and whatever, for the town meeting so that people will have a better, picture of what's happening with it.
Right, so the people could review that information and ask whatever questions they have on
Exactly.
this, okay.
So for
Exactly.
the minutes, the purpose of the eminent domain is to clear the title to the property.
The purchase was initiated 2 years ago and we have been trying our due diligence, but because of liens on the property, we are taking steps to, acquire it via eminent domain, and the sellers are on board with that process. So,
Should say all those things in
Right.
case somebody reads it tonight.
right. So,
Oh, because this was a vote, so a
Yes.
draft could be
Yes.
online fairly soon.
right.
Okay,
Seeing that we have no other business and we've taken care of that item, do I have a motion to adjourn at 8:56?
so moved.
So second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone who attended, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
6 you said.
Yes, I did.
So next